How are you doing? Everything good?
Everything's great in Philly now, and got my kids. No nanny on the road, always an adventure. Tour's great. Yeah, great things.
I was going to say it's funny because I was, getting ready, preparing some questions last night. I came across the picture of you years ago in the Superman shirt, and I thought, Super Billy with the tour, with the new album, with the NWA, with your kids. I mean, I don't know how you have time for it all, quite honestly.
I don't. That's the problem. I don't have it. Um, I come from humble background, and I've always looked at this opportunity as a good thing. So if you're busy, that means things are happening. So there's a bad busy too, but this is definitely a good busy right now.
No, to have as many things as you have going on, successful things too. That's the great kind of busy. Well, let's talk first. Congratulations on the new album, Aghori Mhori Mei. Did I get it right?
You did.
Excellent, excellent. It seemed, Billy, like you guys had dropped hints about it for a while, but then it really ramped up over the last couple weeks, and then boom, here we go. New album, first song, same day. Was that always the plan, or did it kind of just happen that way?
No, we plan on doing a traditional release, do the video, do the first song and all that stuff and build up pressure to get to the record. And with the Green Day tour coming online and with the arguing behind the scenes about what should be the first single, I just woke up one day and I said, I'm just going to put this record out. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it anymore. The band picked the first single. Not everybody behind the scenes agreed on our choice. And the record was number one most added at alt and active rock. That's a bit behind the scenes, but that's obviously a big deal to us. So many years in the game, they have the support of radio, especially for the song that we picked. And I think it's one of those things. Like, look, we're playing to a lot of young people out there, and if they watch us play live in front of Green Day, maybe they haven't heard us before. They know a couple of the songs from the radio, and they go on and they see there's a new record, and that's the first thing they ever hear from the Smashing Pumpkins. That's not a bad thing. So we felt pretty comfortable, and so far it seems to be working. So
Well, I really like the album, Billy, and I don't know. I feel like it's the Smashing Pumpkins, all of your wisdom for many years now, your musicianship and everything together, and it feels like it went back to the time of melancholy with the musical direction. Am I kind of right in that, in what you guys were thinking with it?
well, at the end of making the last record, Autumn, which was huge endeavor, 33 songs, there was lots of different types of music on it, including rock stuff. I started feeling that we really should go back in the rock direction, but I thought, well, what does that really mean? It's one thing to put on a guitar, but when you've been playing guitar for 40 years, what kind of guitar do you want to play? Um, and so it felt right to me that we just kind of go back to the way we used to make music. And it was more getting into the mindset of how we made that music and why we made that music. And once I was able to kind of psychologically crack that nut, um, that's the music that came out of that. It just felt comfortable. Um, on paper, it seems like you're going backwards, like, hey, what did we used to do and why did we do it? But somehow it felt new again to us.
Yeah, were you working on Autumn at the same time? Was it like both going on, you know,
No,
one and one?
no, it was literally the moment Autumn finished was the moment I started making Aghori Mhori Mei.
Oh wow. Okay. I didn't know if like when you're writing Autumn, maybe you thought of other ideas for it or anything, but wow. That's 45 songs just all in a row.
Well, and we did 10 songs before Autumn on another record that's in the Autumn box set. So it's 65.
It's too much. It's way too much.
Too many songs, right? I know. Trust me, not everyone agrees with all the songs I'm writing, but I write them and I keep recording them, so there's not much they can do.
Well, hey, you're the one that's on the tour with Green Day and doing your own tour as well, which was the other thing, the other big thing that we definitely want to talk about. You're in Philly right now and got the show tomorrow night at Citizens Bank Park, Hershey this weekend, Atlanta's coming up. You're going back home to Chicago. I know that's a huge one for you at Wrigley, and Minneapolis and Seattle. So, you know, it just seems like the tour is getting better and better every night. I got to see night number one in DC, and man, it was even though you guys had to cut a few songs, it was still so much fun with everyone doing their thing together.
Great tour. We first met Green Day when we were all in Lollapalooza together in '94. We were headlining that Lollapalooza, and they were like the baby band on the B stage. And it's been amazing what they've accomplished over the last 30 years, right? And they've been very gracious in sharing that stage with us, and their fans have been very supportive. And like you said, you saw that show, so great, Bill. Lots of songs that people know, and it just feels really good. It's cool. Um, there are times where guitar music seems to get pushed aside by American culture, but I think this is one of those big flexes. Obviously, Green Day's doing the majority of the flex here, but that's a huge flex to go out and draw that many people and young people out to see a rock show.
Absolutely. But I also remember, Billy, you had said something, uh, maybe it was the last time we talked a couple years ago about the alternative festival. And this really feels like that. If you could have more bands, you could do a whole day of this for sure.
Yeah, we've certainly explored it. We're getting close to having enough momentum where we can go out and do something similar. We would like to put together our own kind of traveling festival. What we pitch behind the scenes is that as long as it would say us and maybe one other strong band, maybe two, kind of like what Green Day's doing with us and Rancid, but then put a bunch of young bands and do an all-day thing. I think that would be really fantastic, because I know for me at the age of 57, I would love to use our position to introduce a lot of young people to a lot of young bands and get them back pointed at guitar music. Because as you look at the top 40 pop charts, you look at American culture, you look at what gets celebrated on the Grammys and all those types of shows. Rock music is way, way to the back of the priority line. But if you look at who actually goes out and sells tickets and who gets massive streaming numbers, that's what's so wacky about the music businesses. Let's just take Green Day for an example. Massive streaming numbers, massive ticket selling, you know what I mean? Why isn't that type of music, or in their case, Green Day's music, in top 40? They deserve that position, but try to crack that top 40 pop chart with all these artists who don't even tour. It's such a strange thing, because at the end of the day, you can be big on the radio and not tour. I'm not sure you're as big as you think you are. So anyway, I think everyone understands the point I'm making. The business
Sure.
is a bit broken, is what I'm really trying to say.
No, but I like, seeing the show in DC, seeing the opening. I mean, there were, 35,000 people there. I just went to Denver, Billy, and saw the Foo Fighters, and they had about 70 in the Broncos Stadium. So just
Oh,
like you
yeah.
said, you know, rock music is certainly alive and well. It's just maybe it's not being recognized as it should, but you definitely have your people everywhere.
Yeah, I would just like, maybe I'm, dating myself, but it was so great in the 1970s when I listened to pop radio as a kid, and you'd hear Ted Nugent next to some horrible, yacht rock song. But the charts were really reflective of American culture. And I miss that, because I think music benefited from the cross pollination. I mean, I could sit here and make fun of yacht rock all I like, but it had some influence on the way I wrote songs and some influence on the way Gen X played its music. Um,
Absolutely.
you understand? I don't. I hate to belabor the point, because you just end up sounding like the guy on his lawn with his coffee cup yelling.
No, but I totally understand where you're coming from, Billy. So, you know what? Let's leave it at that. And everyone, get your tickets. Go see the Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day and Rancid and the Linda Lindas for Philly, for Hershey, for every date. SmashingPumpkins.com. And I like too, Billy, that you guys aren't just doing the Green Day tour. You said, well, these other cities, while the bigger shows are getting set up in the stadiums, let's go and visit Maine and South Carolina and some other markets that have fans too that we can see in between these other shows.
Yeah, when we got the Green Day schedule, the first thing I did was call the manager and say, "You got to fill in these empty dates, or I'm going to go crazy." So yeah, so that's interesting, because we'll play a show and 45,000 people in a baseball stadium, and then the next night we're playing a regional show with our fans, 8,000, 10,000 people. So it's interesting, because the contrast is sort of reflective of kind of where you're at. Um, and obviously we're playing deeper cuts, and hopefully get around to playing the new songs pretty soon.
Yeah. Billy, if you could play a Green Day song and they could play one of yours, which one would you swap with them?
Uh, I love Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I think that's just one of the great songs of all time. And I could definitely see where we could do a good version of that. One of our songs, I don't know. Maybe we have a song that was a B-side from back in the day called Pissant, which is about as close as we ever came to kind of thrash punk. It'd be interesting to hear Green Day's take on that. I think Billy could do a great job on that.
Okay, all right. Pissant and Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I think that'd be a cool swap if you guys ever wanted to do a record store day release or something. Maybe you talk to Billy. Also, how about Few Whiskey? I think it's really cool. You have your own whiskey with Madam Zuzu's tea infused in there. I didn't know you could do tea and whiskey together.
Yeah, that's all credit to my wife. She worked with this local distillery, and I don't drink. I'm allergic to alcohol, unfortunately, so I'm not able to even try our own whiskey. But all the all the drunks around me say it's really good. Uh, but yeah, my wife figured out we could infuse it with our Madam Zuzu tea. So, and anybody interested, MadamZuzu.com is where we sell Pumpkin's archival releases and a limited edition of the new Aghori record. And then you can also get the whiskey through us too, if you're interested.
Yeah, I see. Madam Zuzu's, you guys have so much going on there. And it's cool too, Billy, that you were really hands-on with that. Did you ever work in a restaurant before?
I did. I got fired every time. I worked in about 2 or 3 restaurants. I think the longest stretch I ever did was about a week before they fired me. I was not a good employee. I'm sure that's really shocking to everybody listening to you. I was just not a good employee. I had too much of a bad attitude.
But you get that restaurant in your blood, and it's like, oh, I want to do this. For some reason, you get drawn back. That kind of made me think about you being so hands-on with stuff at Zuzu's, where you really don't have to be. You could let the people run it.
I love it, and my wife loves it. We've learned a lot about business. We've learned a lot about our community. As some people know, we were in the sort of the zone of where this mass shooting happened in Highland Park. Gosh, what a crazy time that was. So being part of that community, healing with that community, serving food and bringing comedy shows and kids shows to the community. It's been a really interesting journey, but really a lot of fun. And then, I'm spoiled, some of the best vegan food in America is served at my shop. And so, when I'm working on the album, where do I go? I go into my tea house for lunch. I'm totally spoiled.
Yeah. Why make a sandwich in your kitchen when you could walk right down the street and go get it? Someone else do it for you.
Yes, sir.
What if not Madam Zuzu's, where else in Chicago should someone visit, Billy? I got a lot of friends going there, it seems like, through the rest of the year. What's one or a couple places you might say to hit up?
The number one thing that everyone really likes to do is there's an architectural tour, but you go by boat.
Yeah.
That's the number one, I think, tourist thing that people do. And I have done it. It's really awesome. And it's a beautiful way to see the city. It's such a cool, different take on the city because you really understand the industrial past of the city and why the waterways were so critical to building up the city. My favorite museum in Chicago is the Museum of Science and Industry, which is a bit of a wonky name. It's a bit on the south side of the city, but especially if you have kids, it's such a cool museum. They have like a fake coal mine in the basement of it. So you go down an elevator, but it was made in the 1930s. So it's this archaic, crazy thing where you go through this pretend coal mine. You have to see it because it's like something. It's like Disneyland 20 years before Disneyland or something. So it's this really strange museum, but it's really beautiful, and it's somewhere we like to take our children.
Okay. All right. I'll put those on the list. And last thing, you're in Philly and you're going to be back there in a couple weeks for the big NWA 76 show. 76 years of the National Wrestling Alliance. That's last year was a big anniversary too, but 76, pretty cool that you get to celebrate that in Philly.
Well, it feels right? 76 and Philly. And of course, it was 30 years ago that Shane Douglas threw the NWA title into a garbage can in this very arena. So we're coming back to sort of say, hey, the NWA is still here. And not only is it here, we're growing and we're bringing this thing back to the top. So I hope people come. I actually put the date in between our Green Day tour dates. So I will be there. I'll be taking a tour bus all night to come to the wrestling show. And I hope people come and see us because our wrestling is very, very strong. So if you're a fan of professional wrestling, don't sleep on the NWA. We're making real strides.
Absolutely. 2,300 arena there in Philly. And you just said about Shane 30 years ago. I feel like there's a lot of potential for surprise special guests to show up at this one.
You never know, but I'm not that special, but I will be a guest. So it's NWALiveEvents.com if you want to get tickets.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Billy, last thing about wrestling, and then we'll get to jump in here. If you could have two wrestlers join the NWA, let's say a guy and a girl, who would you pick out of anyone right now?
That's always tough, because you're accused of maybe trying to poach talent that's under contract. So
No
that's
contracts, no poaching.
that that's I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm
But
sure we could guess some names, but that's fine.
there's so much talent. I mean, the great thing about wrestling right now is there's never been more talent. There's so much talent, even at the independent level. There's incredible talent. We work with a lot of them, depending on where we are in the country. It's impressive. Um, Great time for wrestling.
Absolutely. And you can see NWA every week on the CW.com. You guys are streaming over there. Well, Billy, let me tell everyone again, Philly, Hershey, Milwaukee, Atlanta, LA, you're going to be everywhere, either with Green Day or the Smashing Pumpkins. So, I'm sorry, or the Smashing Pumpkins own tour. So smashingpumpkins.com, NWALiveEvents.com for NWA 76 in Philly. And there's a bunch of other stuff coming up throughout the rest of the year. You were just super Billy with all the stuff you have going on, man. Maybe today take a nap. Try that.
My children won't let me. And they're unforgiving.
You'll have to get out and wear them out first. All right. Well, Billy, hey, thank you so much for the time, man. And have fun continuing the tour and everything. I appreciate it.
All right, great. Thanks so much. Nice talking
Thanks.
to you.